Welcome to the E.A.T podcast. It's episode number 28. I'm your co-host, Jerry. The other co-host over there is Russ. Russ, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good.
Sporting the Ranger hat tonight. Loving it. I got my shirt on. We didn't even plan this. Look at this.
We're gay for each other.
Nothing wrong with that. We're just supportive of our number one team. That's all. I'm in the cozy confines of my basement here. It's a little setup I got going on now. I think I'm going to do the show from down here from now on.
Looks like you're in a hunting cabin.
Listen, it's cozy. I got some wood paneling. I got some brick. I got a fireplace on the other side. It's nice. It's different. It's not the old setup I had. And just switched over the internet in the house, so we shouldn't have any more streaming issues on my end.
Yeah, you spoke too soon, buddy. You haven't been clear or
Here we go.
Been choppy here.
Great. And I'm at 10 out of 10 on the connection too, which is
maybe it's the computer. My whole issue was my fucking computer. I got a new one, and here we are. I haven't had problems, and I'm in the middle of my kitchen.
I might need to do that next too then. All right, so it's been an interesting week since we last had a podcast. I got to say, Paul Rudd voted sexiest man alive by People magazine. Is this a joke? What's going on here?
I don't think
I could name at least half a dozen people off the top of my head right now that I would consider better than him. And I'm not condoning or making fun of or whatever, but this guy cannot be the sexiest man alive. It just can't be. It's got to be a joke. Tell me it's a joke, Russ.
I don't know. My wife just said, "Who's Paul Rudd?"
Yeah, exactly. Who's Paul Rudd?
No. I know. I love Paul Rudd. I'm down with it. I'm just saying, how does he not know who Paul Rudd is? He's like
now I know who he is.
Oh, yeah, and she knows who he is. Yeah.
Chat's on fire already. Here we go.
All right. Either way, I like Paul Rudd a lot. Sexiest man. Yeah, I don't know about that one. If you told me it was Ryan Reynolds for like the 80th time, I'd be perfectly fine with it.
I mean, him, The Rock, George Clooney, sure. I mean, come on. Paul Rudd. What has Paul Rudd even done?
Hey, you leave Ant-Man alone, brother.
Come on.
40-year-old what is it? This is 40-year-old virgin. What was it? I Love You, Man. Freaking again, Ant-Man, the Marvel movies. Come on, don't you dare diss Paul Rudd on me.
Ryan Reynolds, The Rock, George Clooney, I'm putting above him, and that's just the three off the top of my head.
I love The Rock, but I'm not putting The Rock above Paul Rudd.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. All right. I just don't see it. When I saw that come out, I was like, this has to be a joke.
Yeah, you got to remember that. They got to change it up. They can't, you really can't have, Ryan Reynolds and Brad Pitt every year. You do got to change it up a little bit.
But if these are the guys, then these are the guys. Just like, the women are the women. You know what? I haven't even seen a woman, a beautiful or most hot or however you want to word it, woman, sexiest woman alive in a while. I don't know if they're even stopping doing that or not, but I haven't seen that.
I don't know. My wife just said something, and now she's beside herself in the corner, fucking dying.
Oh boy, we're gonna go down that rabbit hole.
Just something about emailing somebody her picture after you said the sexiest woman alive.
She's emailing her picture.
I don't know. My wife does crazy things. Half the time she's crying to herself in laughter and don't even know what the fuck it's about.
And then it turns out to be that she's thinking of a video of me falling down in front of my house at 4 a.m.
That too.
Which we will eventually play. I'm sure we will.
I don't remember where the hell that is.
Oh God!
I lost the video of me scaring her on the ring cam and her calling me a fucking asshole. But I got her good though.
All right, and I know that you haven't been watching it, but I gotta tell you, the amount of stuff Netflix is putting out, unbelievable lately. Squid Game, I'm a huge fan of. Money Heist is another show I've been a big fan of. Sex Life was a big show. Some people say that led to some situations going on in my current state of affairs over here, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's disturbing.
But Money Heist, the final season.
God bless your wife for those 10 seconds of passion.
Hey, it was 15, all right?
And there goes my wife again. Don't feel bad. Yeah. The older I get, the few and far between it comes, and it's the same. Yeah.
We are going down a different road. 28 episodes in now. I gotta say that.
If you're out there, kids listening, trust me, when you get older, you're not getting it 3-4 times a week. It's it's hard to stay up on your stamina.
Oh boy.
So
anyway, back to my original thought.
I got into Wheel of Time, which is Amazon.
Okay.
You gotta like fantasy. You gotta like kind of like Lord of the Rings type stuff for that.
Okay.
If you like any type fantasy stuff like that, it's basically a simple story of like they're looking for like a child was born years ago and has magical powers, and they're trying to find him. And they're basically a society of women that have powers, not like witches, but similar. And they're trying to find him, find this person. And then if anybody watched the Hawkeye series for Marvel, first 2 episodes came out. That was I actually enjoyed that pretty good. What do you call it? Obviously, if you're a fan of Marvel movies, Disney has done a very good job of doing their standalone character shows, especially with Loki and WandaVision.
They just keep pumping out stuff. It's unbelievable. I mean, with Disney Plus now, you have the ability to just crank out show after show, character after character. I mean, but every character in every movie can have a backstory.
They haven't been just cranking them out just to crank them out. They've been really good. I mean, WandaVision, I had no interest in watching, couldn't give two shits. And I ended up watching it. I loved it. And it was from the previews, it's very different from what the show actually was. And then the Loki show was I enjoyed, fully. It was really a little bit of that. Really good.
So back to my original thought. Money Heist, the final season is dropping on Friday from Netflix, and something I've watched from the beginning. When I first heard about it, I actually found the show on some website in Spanish and ended up finding out how to switch it to English subtitles because I was so hooked after the first season, and it was like in the middle of the second one. And I had to watch it, and I've been hooked ever since. I binge watched a season and a half in like 3 days, and then the other half of season 2 I found on some Spain website that I had to switch the Spanish to English subtitles, and now I'm hooked. But anyway, the final season is dropping on Friday, and it should put a wrap up. They should wrap up everything, but it's pretty good. They rob a couple of banks, people getting blown to pieces, and all that other stuff. I don't want to ruin for anybody if you haven't seen it, but definitely one of Netflix's biggest shows, along with Red Notice and Squid Game and all that stuff. Money Heist is definitely in that conversation as well. All right, so moving along, Russ, the NHL, Jack Hughes signs a monster deal, $64 million for 8 years. This is a guy that has played, 119 games, 130 games, whatever it is?
It was 117 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Probably got 50-something odd points.
And, obviously being in the New York metro area, the minute you see this deal come down for a player like this, right away you think, all right, what is Capo Caco going to get, and what is Lafreniere going to get?
I hope this is not indicative of what Capo's going to get. Honestly, my first thought is the kid hasn't broken out. He's definitely got talent. He definitely has talent. I get that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say he doesn't. He was number one pick, and he's definitely been a very valuable player to them this season. He played better, but last season, whatever. But you got to look at it. They're paying him for his potential. I would have thought that with him haven't had a breakout season yet, that you would have got a bridge deal, which is kind of what I'm expecting Caco to get.
Which has been the Ranger motive, the Ranger operating procedure with all these guys.
Well, why not a 2-year bridge deal correct me if I'm wrong, but wouldn't he still be restricted free agent even after that because of the age? I mean, listen, I could be wrong on that one. But
Well, his entry level deal is going to be 3 years, right? That's the starting point for things. Then he's going to have a couple of years of restricted free agency and
so
arbitration eligible.
A 2-year bridge deal, I believe, would still keep him in restricted, so you wouldn't have to worry about losing him. But you would really see though what he's going to become, because I don't see an $8 million player yet. You're banking on his potential. That's a lot of money to hope that he comes to fruition as a number 1 pick.
So his rookie deal is up after this year. He's 20 years old, and he would have went into restricted free agency after this contract is up. So maybe they're afraid of the offer sheet idea, as we've seen with Sebastian Aho in this last offseason with Montreal and Carolina, and 2 years ago, and then the revenge deal with Kotkaniemi, which just happened this offseason.
I'll be honest.
Maybe they're afraid of that.
I think that it's the opposite. I don't think I'd be worried about that. With the situation that happened between Carolina and the Canadians with the offer sheets, pretty sure the rest of the league took that as a not a joke, but almost they made a joke of it. That I think you're not going to see that for a while again. On a side note, breaking news.
Oh boy!
Marcus Stroman has signed with the Chicago Cubs.
What's the money involved in this? And we're gonna get to baseball down the road because a lot of news dropped in the past couple of days.
The Stroman just confirmed on Twitter, Chicago Cubs. So
all right, so we don't see money though.
Not yet. It was him him putting it up there. I don't see $8 million for him.
I don't either, and I don't see $8 million for Kako, and I don't see $8 million for Lafreniere either.
On a side note, listen, could they end up striking it good, and in 4 or 5 years, this kid's a superstar, and that $8 million a year is a deal, a great deal for them? Yes, but right now, that's a lot to bank on a potential player.
I think
I wouldn't have thought that they would have given him more than $4 or $5 million a year.
I was going to say, I think the first 2, 3, even 4 years of this deal, it's definitely an overpay. And then what? You're hoping that on the back end of this, when he could have been making 10, 11, 12, if he actually
pretty much
peaked, saved money on the back end?
Yeah.
I don't like the way they did this.
That's a lot to hope for. And as much as I love Kako and I want him to succeed, I hope if they extend him, his deal is nowhere near this. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't want to see anything over $4 million at this point.
Listen, you're putting Hughes in the same conversation as a Adam Fox and those type of deals that were just signed. $8-9 million. Cole McCarr and
two guys that are Fox is a Norris winner now, and McCarr is basically on the verge of winning a Norris. Several few years here, and obviously as Ranger fans, we hope the deal fails and blows up in their face. But
sure.
Congrats to Jack, but even I don't know. I think even his brother Quinn is probably laughing at this one.
Well, they also drafted his other brother, and he's playing at Michigan right now. I wonder if this contract being for 8 years played into that as well, knowing this brother's going to come, I don't know, 2 years from now or so, whatever it's going to be.
All I know is right now, good or bad, Hughes is laughing his way to the bank. So good for him.
Yeah, definitely laughing to the bank.
So
somebody else who was just hitting the pocketbook, speaking of the bank, Brendan Lemieux got into an altercation with Brady Tkachuk over the weekend and got into a little tussle as they go to the ice. Brendan Lemieux apparently bit Tkachuk on the wrist, which led to a match penalty and a hearing with player safety.
Yep.
Player safety handed down a 5-game suspension to Lemieux. I thought biting left the sports world when Tyson bit Holyfield's ear decades ago.
On a side note, Sean Avery kind of justified the biting because he thought that Tkachuk was trying to, poke his eye out or something. It was some weird explanation.
Really?
I don't know if I saw that one, but yeah, the biting thing. I don't know. It was kind of stupid on his part. You just cost your not that I give a shit about the Kings, but you just cost your couple games of play, and you cost yourself a little hit in the wallet there. Oh, Jesus Christ!
What happened now?
We got a Jacob Trouba goal.
Oh,
3 minutes
beautiful.
into the game.
Hey, I got to say real
Boys,
quick,
fuck it up.
we haven't been a fan of the Trouba contract, and we're going to get into Jeff Gorton in a second, who just
Not at all.
landed a job. But we haven't been a fan of the Trouba contract. People are, now that Gorton has gone on to Montreal to be the executive vice president up there, people are looking at the deals Gorton made, and the Trouba deal is one that, I mean, it's glaring. It's huge. Neil Pionk went the other way and has had a pretty good career in Winnipeg. I mean, it's the middle of nowhere, but he's had a pretty good career. He brought in Trouba for that massive $56 million or $58 million contract that he signed when he brought him over. And now, all of a sudden, I want to say, Trouba's put a good week or two together of games. You got to say.
No, I think I don't dislike Trouba. I think he's played well for the most part, but I don't see the $8 million.
No, contract is atrocious.
His offensive numbers haven't been, what they needed to be. I still think he's been a good, defenseman. I think he carried Keandre Miller for a good part of last year before he got injured.
Yep.
But I don't see the $8 million worth.
No, I don't.
Maybe 5 or 6, but the $8 million worth is for me, it's not there. I think he needs to do a little more. But listen, like I said, I still think he's a good defenseman. I still think Jesus Christ, I can't speak tonight. I still think people give him a bad rap because they just look at the contract and they don't realize how good of a defenseman he actually is, and just look at every excuse to nitpick and shit on him. But yeah, I guess that's the price you pay when you command a big salary.
You also didn't expect Adam Fox to, blossom into what he's become so quick. Now you're comparing that contract to Trouba, and of course, there isn't even a comparison. That's the problem. But speaking of Jeff Gorton, was doing some NHL Network analyst gig for the first few months here, or a month and a half, now lands a job with the Canadians, who blew up their whole front office.
Hold on, my dog's ass requires scratching. Say hello? I don't even know if you can see him here.
No.
Wait. Say hello to the Scotchy.
So yeah, Jeff Gorton does some NHL analyst work for a month or so, and now Montreal decides to blow up their front office. Jeff Molson, the owner up there in Canada for Montreal, fires the
Molson, eh?
Yeah, Molson, eh? Fires the GM, Bergevin. Fires 2 other people as well, and brings in Gorton to run the show. And now it's Gorton's responsibility to find a English/French speaking general manager that he's going to work in tandem with a whole new mindset of how Montreal is going to operate. And Russ, did you see who wants to be the GM? The first name came out last night.
Yeah, Patrick Waugh.
Yeah.
Well, 2 things. A lot of what I'm reading is that basically Gorton is the GM of this team, and a lot of Canadians are sitting there saying that this is just a way of circumventing their, the need for a friend. Basically anybody that he picks is going to be a puppet. However, with that said, if Patrick Waugh were to land this, I could see an issue with that. If that's their intention, because Patrick Waugh is a very fiery personality. Yes, he is. I don't see him being a puppet to anybody. So I have a feeling that they're not going to go that route. I have a feeling they're going to pick somebody that will let Gorton pull the strings. Why else is like I said, is now he cuts off his salary from the Rangers.
Yep.
So he's not going to be getting paid by the Rangers, which he was getting paid 7 million, whatever he said it was.
7 million is what the number I was told, and obviously
So,
you know where I am and who lives around the corner here, so you know my deal.
Family, I don't see him moving up there to just take an executive VP position without them, telling him what he's really going to do. So, but on a side note, of the French,
he's moving the family up there, so he's up there long term. Molson said that the contract is a long term deal. This isn't a 2 or 3 year thing, and Gordon's going to get bounced. He's going to be there for a while.
And the other thing too about the whole French English thing needed there, I think that's so outdated, and not for the fact of, for the saying like, oh, he has to speak French. It's like saying like somebody like has to speak, they speak Spanish, they have to speak English. None of that. To me, you're limiting your prospect pool as far as potential GMs.
Oh, yeah.
And you would think that the whole point of a franchise is to win. Yes. That winning would trump all. That you'd rather have, instead of the best guy available, you'd rather have the best guy available that speaks French as opposed to the best guy available overall. And listen, it is what it is. That's what makes you happy. That's the Canadians. I get it. There's a huge, French Canadian community up there, and a good part of Canada speaks French as well. I get it. I understand, but you want to win too. You're limiting your prospect pool. I would think they would say, listen, we're going to get who we get to fucking run this team and, build a successful franchise. And I know that they went to a Stanley Cup last year, but I think that was more of a, a surprise to them just as much, and other than that, they really haven't been fully relevant since fucking 93.
Yeah. They honestly, they had a hot goalie, which that's all it takes in the NHL playoffs to steal a series or two.
Like I said, they haven't been relevant since fucking Patrick Waugh was on the Canadiens. And if you ask freaking the kids, 20-year-old kid nowadays, probably didn't even know that Patrick Waugh played for the Canadiens. It was that long ago.
And, like you just said, you're pigeonholing yourself in with a select few people who speak English and French. Pigeonholed?
By the way, Niels Lundqvist and Capo Caco on the assists.
All right, beautiful. I hope Lundqvist has a good year. I really do. I want him to. Have a good rookie year and progress. I want him to be one of their top defensemen. You hear so much about him and how he was great in Sweden, and rising up after they drafted him. That's somebody I'm really excited about.
Swedish.
But anyway, so going back to this, Patrick Waugh says he wants to come in and be the GM. You pigeonhole yourself in with someone who speaks English and French. My question to you, Russ, is this. Now, obviously, in New York, Mark Messier is the end-all, be-all when it comes to the Rangers because he brought the cup here. Montreal has that same, feeling with Patrick Waugh because they haven't done anything since him, and he won a couple of cups there with them. Then he was a successful coach with Colorado before he got bounced out of there. But we've seen Messier.
Let's define that word successful.
Well, he had a couple of good years in Colorado. But then my thought is this. You have a guy that is well-known, well-liked, just like Messier is loved here. Patrick Waugh is the same up there. The whole idea with Messier coming on and being a coach or a GM or whatever position here at the Rangers never came to fruition because people say it might tarnish the whole 94 bringing the cup to New York thing.
Well, do you think it? Well, hold on. There's also a big difference there. If you told me right now we could have Messier as our coach, I would probably say absolutely not. Well, not probably. I would.
Yeah, absolutely.
He has zero coaching experience. Correct. Whereas at this point, Patrick Waugh does have coaching experience,
but he doesn't have GM experience. So my question:
at least there's still, I guess, front office experience there. You're still involved in those type of dealings with the front office, so at least has that experience. Messier has none of it. Messier just, I hate to say it, just lives on his name. He hasn't had that front office.
6 cups. I mean, he can live on anything he wants.
I agree, but like I said, Patrick Waugh at least has that experience, and it'd be different even if Messier had been coaching in the minors. It's hard to never. Look at Gretzky. They threw Gretzky in there, and he was, I hate to say it, a terrible coach.
So my question to you is this: do you think, obviously, Patrick Waugh says, "Hey, I want to come in. I want to be the GM. I can speak French. I can speak English. I'm, a great candidate for whatever reason. Blah blah blah. I've been a winner here." Do you think Montreal looks at that and says no because they don't want to tarnish the legacy or the reputation? Do you think that limits him? I mean, listen, he could be the next great thing, and we don't know. He could go, for argument's sake, he could go to Minnesota 2 years from now or Florida 3 years from now and win a cup 7 years from now and be great. You don't know that, but I'm just out of thin air. Do you think the idea of him tarnishing the legacy in Montreal is going to work against him in this?
It might. It's possible. Like I said, too, they're even harder to play there than it is New York because of the media.
The pressure has to be unbelievable there. Has to be.
I know people talk about how hard it is to play in New York. Believe me, as far as hockey goes, Montreal and even Toronto, for that matter, that's the end all be all. The media is absolutely ridiculous.
It's got to be brutal up there.
But I don't think so. I think I don't think they view it the same way. Like I said, he has coaching experience. He has that front office experience. So, but we'll see what happens. I mean, listen, I just the French thing. If that's what makes him happy, listen. If it was me, I wouldn't care. If he told me a coach coming to the Rangers that only spoke fucking like Swahili and didn't speak English and had to use a translator, but he brought us 3 cups. Jesus Christ, I'd probably celebrate Kwanzaa with him. I wouldn't care what we got 2-0. Dylan Hunt, Dryden Hunt. When I say Dylan Hunt, Dryden Hunt unassisted.
Is that like it sounds like a NASCAR driver, Dylan Hunt.
I think there is a Dylan Hunt somewhere, but yeah, Dryden Hunt, who I had to say has actually played pretty well. Isn't that the line of him, Laugh, and Gauthier?
So Dylan Hunt has bounced around.
Dryden Hunt. I got you fucked up now too.
Dryden Hunt has bounced around. He was a 4th liner, I think, when the season started, and then wasn't playing for a few games. Then you got a couple of injuries that came in to play. Then he got bounced up to the first line with
assisted by Panarin, so he's playing something.
I was gonna say they got bounced up to the first line with Panarin and Mika, and Panarin and Strome for a little while. So he's bouncing around. Listen, he's having a good start now. I mean, he's getting obviously just scored a goal now, but getting some points, and that's all you can ask for.
I think he's played well. I think people, same thing with Gauthier. I'd give 2 craps about Gauthier before the season. But then this season, I think he's played extremely well. I think everyone just associates, if you're not scoring goals, you're not playing well. But he's made quite a few great plays over the last few weeks, and I think you just finally see what happens when you give players some ice time. But it doesn't mean I'm the greatest fan, but I think they've him and Hunt have actually played very well as role players this season so far.
No, he was a guy that we were hoping Seattle was taking in the draft before Colin Blackwell was taken by the Kraken.
On a side note, how is Colin Blackwell doing? I don't think he's doing shit.
You know what? That's a very good question. What has Colin Blackwell done?
And then what did you tell me they think you could get for him in a trade last year? What was that?
2nd round pick is what I said. Second round pick. Listen, last year,
because I don't think it was a 2nd round pick.
Last year, we should go back to the text, but last year he was playing with the stars or the big guns on the Rangers, and now I don't know what he's
up. It's updated. Assisted by Fox and Panarin. Another assist for the Fox.
Love that guy. I'm looking up what Colin Blackwell has done for Seattle.
Already has beaten you.
Wow, Seattle is 7th in the Pacific Division.
Yes, they're at the bottom of the Pacific where they belong. He has only played 6 games. He has 1 goal, 1 assist. So maybe we made the right decision.
Yeah, I would think we did.
And I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying Gauthier is going to be the next anything, but every team needs reliable, good role players. And if he's going to, people forget too, he's been on the team for 2 years now. He's still like Kako. They're still very, very young. So, if you got a kid that can develop at least to play a good role player, you still need those guys. Not everybody's going to score 20, 30 goals.
All right, moving along here. The Pittsburgh Penguins were sold to a group which owns the Boston Red Sox
and the Liverpool.
Yeah, Liverpool soccer club or football club.
Football club. Don't you dare call them soccer club. Listen, I
mean,
call MLS soccer. That's fine. It's great. But you talk about my Liverpool or English soccer. It's English football. It's fuck. I did it. It's football.
The group also owns a race car company, and now they just added the Pittsburgh Penguins to their plethora.
Yeah, I think that's an odd combo.
Yeah. Obviously, I guess the Boston Bruins weren't available. Obviously, anything local to Boston was not around for them to buy. And for $900 million, they didn't get this on the cheap. That's for sure.
No, they got some money.
And Mario Lemieux was going to stay and run things with the team, but also that info that came out during this press conference and release was that the same group now wants to buy an NBA team in 2022.
Well, here's my take on this though. Fuck this group. I'll tell you why.
Because you're not a Red Sox fan?
No. I'm a Liverpool fan. They own it. Nice to have owners that have money, but this to me, buying all these different franchises, if you told me that this Fenway Group owned the Patriots, owned the Red Sox, owned the Bruins,
yes,
they want to stay that region. They care.
Okay.
Obviously, everybody cares, but this group specifically just cares about money in a greed way. They're not caring who they own. They just want to own. So they're owning one of the biggest clubs in Europe. They're owning, they're the Penguins in Pittsburgh. They own their allegiances spread all out.
Yeah. What's next? The Sacramento Kings.
Exactly. It tells me that they just, and obviously, yes, everything is about money. That's fine. And we all want it too. But this, to me, it doesn't show care. It just shows they just want their hands in everything and make as much money as possible. It's that's my point.
Listen, I agree with that. Obviously they're involved in the sports ownership, world. If the Boston Bruins aren't available, if the Patriots aren't available, and anything local isn't available, they're still going to go buy a team. But I agree. They're not based over the Atlantic. They're not based in Pittsburgh. They're just owning a team for owning a team. And
yeah, I don't see how a group from Boston, wants to buy the Penguins and then just search for, it's just, it'd be different if they said, hey, we're going to buy the Penguins and relocate to Pittsburgh and then work on starting a NBA franchise in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
It'd be different. To me, this is just a money grab of, hey, we're going to just buy shit all over the place and just try to make as much money as possible. And listen, no fault to you making money. But if I was a player or anything, I want to see an owner that cares about, the team, not just they got 8 million interests all over the place.
I agree. Hey, big matchup tonight. We've been discussing the Rangers and Flyers, obviously. That's not the big matchup I'm talking about. But tonight you have Sidney Crosby and Connor McJesus, facing off tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern in Edmonton. It's a battle of two of the premier hockey players in the league right now. But it's the first matchup of the season between these two guys. Also tonight, you got Colorado-Toronto, which is about to face off any minute now. Two teams that are horrendous up in Canada. You got Vancouver and Ottawa. I don't know who's watching that, but that's a battle of lottery picks for sure. Seattle's playing Detroit at 7:30 as well. Detroit's been a pleasant surprise, like we discussed last episode. And also out west tonight, you have Vegas and Anaheim, which Vegas has struggled a little bit, and Anaheim has, I would say, overachieved a little bit. So you got two teams trending in the opposite direction of what you would have predicted when the season first started. Right now, the Rangers are up 2-0 on Philly. You got about 5 minutes left in the first. You got Russ digging in the fridge, I'm thinking, over there, as he's off camera. And Evander Kane made news with San Jose a couple days ago. The San Jose Sharks decided to put him on waivers, and nobody touched that contract. He's in the middle of a 7-year, $49 million deal. And with the COVID vaccine card issue that came out that led to a 21 game suspension to start the year, with a messy divorce and soon to be ex-wife who went on a Twitter or Instagram tirade about him and gambling on games and everything else that she alleged, which didn't come to anything after an investigation by the NHL. I got to ask you, Russ, who is touching this guy? I mean, $7 million a year. So let's say that the prospective teams first say, "Hey, you're going to retain 50%." So now we're at 3.5 for the next 3 years. Who still wants to touch this guy and this contract with all the drama that surrounds Evander Kane? Anybody?
I don't think anybody does. It's too much to take on. Yeah, it's $7 million is a lot of money. If you said be $4 million, somebody would. But $7 million.
I get a surprise, Uncle Jimmy.
No. Show mommy surprise.
So if San Jose's retaining 50%, you're entertaining this guy coming onto your team with the drama off the ice with his ex?
Depends on how much.
The allegations of gambling and everything else that was, put out there preseason. And now the locker room hated him. They weren't going to play for him in San Jose if he was on the team. The little mutiny that those rumors were trickling out as well. You want this guy in your locker room? I don't want him on the Rangers, that's for sure.
No, I'm good. But I think somebody might be desperate to turn him around. Maybe, I don't know. I wouldn't be touching it.
Bob Heagley is in the chat, Russ.
Fucking Bob. We love you, Bob.
Bob says, "Go Panthers." I'm assuming that's the Florida Panthers because we're on the NHL right now, and not the Carolina Panthers.
What? My wife. I look over. She's got a balloon in her hand. She's like, "Going to suck the helium."
Hey, that would be some good content of Russ with a helium voice. Just saying.
Yes or no? Before the shit goes.
Whatever, just give it to me.
There we go.
Go.
Here we go.
Some good shit, man. I remember tasting this bad. Oh my god.
I don't remember tasting that bad.
You got some skunk helium.
Oh god, it tastes legit. Yeah.
Oh boy.
It tasted like they filtered the helium through a fucking dog's ass.
All right, Russ, I want to move on to the NFL now, a team that's near and dear to you, the Colts. They blew a chance last weekend in a premier Tom Brady and the Buccaneers.
They did 5 turnovers.
I was saying, what are your thoughts on the game? Obviously, it looked close by the final score, but was it really that close? And after watching it, do you gauge that game as a possible Super Bowl preview?
Well, Super Bowl preview. We got to run the fucking table to get into playoffs. But I think it's shown that we can play with anybody. We didn't get blown out by the Rams. I mean, they definitely beat us.
Mm-hmm.
But we hung with the Bucs. We kicking the crap out of them at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, though, 5 turnovers ain't gonna cut it. And I know people were pissed off that we abandoned the run with the Bucs, and being that we have Jonathan Taylor, who's right now the number 1 running back in the league, at least yards wise. But nobody was complaining at halftime when we started throwing the ball like crazy, and we were up 24-14 at half. But like I said, 5 turnovers. Nyheim Hines with a huge fumbled punt. Excuse me. And hey, it is what it is. We tried to beat them with firepower, but you turn the ball over 5 times, it just ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor only rushed for 83. I mean, he did have a touchdown, but rushed for 83 on
it's kinda-
16 carries.
Kind of funny because he was tied with LaDainian Tomlinson and somebody else for the NFL record of consecutive games over 100 yards from scrimmage with a touchdown. And he had 97 yards from scrimmage, 83 rushing, and 14 receiving, whatever it was.
Yeah. Yep.
So all he needed was 3 more yards, and he would have been the record holder for consecutive 100 yards from scrimmage and a touchdown.
Unreal.
Yeah, I mean, listen, everybody wants to play Monday morning quarterback, and they definitely blew the chance to beat the Bucks. But what are you going to do? I almost blew a load when Rodgers returned the kickoff like 70 yards, whatever the fuck it was. I thought he was going to run back the kick to tie the game against the Bucks. And Christ.
Hey, I got to ask you, I'm looking at the box score right now. So obviously Leonard Fournette had a great game. 4 touchdowns for Tampa.
That's the thing, is we didn't get beat by Brady.
No, you didn't. You got beat by him.
Yeah, Gronk had a very good game.
Yeah, 7 receptions for 123
he did,
yards.
But in the end, they Fournette, Fournette killed me.
Fournette rushed for 100 yards on 17 carries, 3 touchdowns, and then on the receiving end of things had 31 yards and a touchdown on 7 receptions as well.
Yeah, so.
Hey, what's going on with T.Y. Hilton?
He had a couple catches. He's just not the man anymore. Michael Pittman's the man.
Okay.
And he's getting up there too. Pittman's kind of, if you look at his stat wise, he's pretty much a top 15 receiver at this point. So he's in year number 2. Same with Taylor, and looks very, very promising with the both of them. What do you call it? Like I said, his yards, touchdowns, everything is pretty much top 15 numbers as far as wide receivers go. So it's close. He's on that cusp of being a superstar receiver, I think.
Okay.
But definitely upped his value from his rookie year, and it's making some noise now. So what do you call it? T.Y. got injured, and I think that's part of it, is that Wentz doesn't have that chemistry with T.Y.
Mm-hmm.
T.Y.'s older, and he's really developed chemistry with other receivers, and specifically Pittman being the man. So I think it's just a different role for now.
Okay.
I'm trying to look at it here. Where did it go?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really heard the name T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, he missed a few games, and like I said, he's already whatever he is, 35, 6, 7, somewhere in there.
So we had a little blip on the radar with the betting last week. I gotta say, we both went 1 and 2. Obviously, my picks.
On a side note, receiving wise, Pittman leads the team with 61 receptions, 800 yards, 5 touchdowns. The next closest is Jonathan Taylor with 36, so almost double the production. T.Y. Hilton only has 13 catches, 155 yards.
So there you go. I mean, it's not even really that involved in the offense. But plus, he was hurt, but it's still not as involved as you would think from years past.
Yeah, Pittman's the number 1 and proving to be a great draft pick. Same thing with Taylor himself.
So like I was just saying, we had a little hiccup with the betting last week. We both went 1 and 2. I mean, you're still on fire. Don't get me wrong. Your betting record is much better than mine. I'm 500 right now, and you're like 67%. So you're
published record at that. So that's the key point.
Yeah, you see these guys who claim they win this and they pick that. Our record's out there every morning on Sunday.
Well, you also got to look.
So we put out our picks.
You got to look too, is we're picking against the spread and the over/under spread too. So
that's true.
A lot of these guys will be like, "Oh, I'm 30 and 15," but then half their picks are like, giant fucking favorites to money line to win. So it is what it is. Listen, I'm not saying it's going to last. I'm definitely not the expert. Pick them. I'm just on a good run. So
it's been a hell of a run. So the premier matchup this week, I'm just looking at the schedule real quick. I mean, there really is some garbage games out there. Buccaneers, Falcons, Cardinals, Bears, Vikings, Lions. I mean, where's Whoop-de-Who in the chat today? Because his Lions might actually be able to win a game this week. with that divisional matchup. You never know. Those games are always close.
My Colts play the Texans. They better fucking win. I swear to God.
Jets, Eagles, Raiders, Washington football team.
Yeah, Rams, Jags. That's a waste. Raiders,
Steelers, Ravens. I mean, obviously that's a divisional matchup that's going to be good or close.
Bob Higley writes, betting on your football calls is more profitable than trading OT stocks. Right now, yes. Yes, it has been. Ravens, Steel. No, there's nothing. Niners.
No, listen, the premier matchup is Monday night, Patriots, Bills. That's it.
Yeah, even Niners, Seahawks, which early in the season would have been good, but Russell Wilson and the Seahawks look terrible.
Listen, they were one of my picks to make the playoffs. That obviously isn't going to happen this year at 3-8.
Vikings, Lions.
No, the matchups of this week are horrible.
Bucks,
absolutely
right.
garbage.
Chargers, Bengals could be good, actually. It's crazy that saying that game involving the Bengals is good, but listen, Joe Burrow, man, I gotta tell you, he they were looks like they were right to draft him because he's looking good. Him and Jamar Chase got a nice little thing going right there.
You know, another guy who's off to a great start, Mac Jones. I mean, and we discussed this guy a couple of weeks now.
Hold on. What do you call it? What did you say the premier matchup was?
Buffalo and New England, Monday night.
Subconsciously, I wasn't paying attention because I just saw that now. I was like, wait a minute, this is a good matchup.
Yeah, no, that's the matchup of the week.
All right,
obviously, the first place Patriots and the second place Bills. That's the matchup. But speaking of Mac Jones and the year he's having, this has to be and we keep coming back to this. This has to be the best coaching display that Bill Belichick has had in a while. I mean, obviously, when you got the Bradys and the Gronks and everybody else that he's had over the years, it's easy for him. But now, with the team he has and a rookie QB and a team that's not filled with stars and Hall of Famers, to be leading the AFC East more than halfway through the NFL year has to be the best coaching demonstration he's put on. Would you agree?
For right now, it's proving to be a very, very good one. See what happens at season's end, but for right now, yes, it's looking like that.
The Thursday matchup this week is the Cowboys and the Saints. The Saints are going to be starting Taysom Hill at QB this week. And I guess he's going to get a little bit more money in that contract he signed because he's going to be starting a QB. But have you looked over the game at all, Russ? You got any prop bets or anything? You know, the line for this game is Dallas minus 4.5, and the over/under is 47.5. Anything for the degenerates out there?
No, I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it. I got more important things to do. But all right, let's move on to some NBA. If you're a disgruntled Knicks fan, and
tough loss last night, I got to say, tough loss.
High hopes from last year. Obviously, this year is much of a disappointment. And the biggest signing of the offseason for them, Kemba Walker, has been benched, and Knicks are not looking too great right now at 11-10. So,
tough loss to the Nets, and I'm not the biggest NBA fan, but I hate the super teams. I'm not a fan of these guys dictating who they get to go play with and where. They get the Durant, Harden. You don't even have Kyrie playing right now in Brooklyn because of the whole COVID vaccine issue that he's got going on. But I'm not a fan of the Nets. I seeing them win last night wasn't fun. I'd like to see the Nets lose and the Knicks win.
Speaking of winning, though. Suns beat the Warriors and won their 17th straight. But trouble may be on the horizon as Devin Booker took an injury and he'll be out for a little bit.
Yeah.
But tonight they go for their record 18th straight win. So it's quite a run.
They are playing. I'm looking at the NBA scoreboard right now, and tonight, let's see.
They're playing the Detroit Pistons, who are terrible.
Oh, come on! I mean, that's a win. What's the money line on that, Russ? Like 800?
I don't bet on basketball. I don't bet on MLB. Who even knows?
You know what? That game is tomorrow night, Russ, at 9:00, and it's in Phoenix. It's not tonight. It's tomorrow.
Well, slap my ass and call me silly. All right.
But yeah, I would think the Suns are extending that winning streak tomorrow. You could probably bet the house on the money line and win that one, whatever the odds are for that.
Yeah, well, you never know. Don't ever bet your fucking. Believe me, anyone tells you that the game is a lock is the most fucking bullshit.
Which means the Pistons are going to win tomorrow now, just because I said that.
Yeah, there is no anybody that tells you the lock of the day or lock. Yeah, they're fucking lock of an asshole. But people follow people that say that, and fucking next thing you know, they lose their house.
Very disturbing. Hey, real quick, just going back to the Knicks. So when the Knicks make the 3-pointers during games, they play that bing bong noise. I'm not sure if you heard this.
Bing
and the bing bong noise received write-in votes for the New York City during the New York City mayor election last month.
I would also like to state that so did Darryl Strawberry.
Oh, who is voting for Darryl Strawberry?
I can understand the vote for Pete Alonso and Jacob DeGrom, but who the fuck wrote in Darryl Strawberry? I love the straw.
Did Darryl vote for himself?
I don't know. But who the fuck vote? Listen, if Darryl Strawberry wrote against, he ran for mayor compared to what was running, Curtis Silva and Eric Adams, whatever his name is. I probably would have voted for Straw. Then again, yeah. Make it more of a joke than it already is. So, fuck it. Can't do any worse, right?
Yeah, right. Don't even get me started. It's a topic I like to avoid.
All right, run with the collective bargaining agreement for a second.
All right, so the Major League Baseball collective bargaining agreement ends tonight at 11:59 Eastern, and the players' union and the owners were in Dallas today to hold last-minute talks. Well, the talks lasted a whole 7 minutes, and after a few proposals, or one proposal was dropped, the other side said no thank you and left. The players that were in town for negotiations were seen leaving the hotel with their luggage, which basically signals that the lockout is upon us in basically 4 hours and 6 minutes from now. The owners are going to lock out the players. And obviously they're fighting about money. We discussed this last week. And just to get into it for a few minutes here, the union is proposing a 12-team playoff. The owners want 14 teams. The interesting thing that I thought with all of that is the first place team, let's say they go to 14. The first place team would get a bye. And the next 3 division winners would be able to pick their opponents in the first round of the baseball playoffs. Hey, I think it's a great idea.
I like that. I like that on one idea. I don't like
right. I like that idea.
I don't like the idea of a team being able to pick their opponent, but I do like that idea for the fact of that the opponent could use that as motivation to say, "Fuck
oh
you,
hell yeah,
bring it on."
Yeah,
I'd like to see longer MLB play. Fucking hat. I don't like that it's the 1 game wild card, and then you win 1 3-game series and you're into the fucking championship series.
Yeah, we discussed that with the whole Braves, with the whole Dodgers and Giants, and you know they played before they got to the Braves in the NLCS.
You want to do a wild card playing, fine, but I want a 3-game series, then a 7-game, and then a 7-game conference. I want a normal.
I agree. I don't want a 1-game playoff.
I want to run it like the NBA playoffs and the hockey playoffs. Obviously baseball, they can play night in, night out. So it's not spaced out as much. But to have just the 3-game series and then you're basically into the fucking, the ALCS and LCS right away, I don't like it. Have it add another round,
Listen, you add more. If you add more rounds to playoffs, if you expand playoffs, you're creating more revenue, obviously, between TV deals and gates at the games and everything else, which the union and the owners are going to share that money.
But I'm not saying expand it where like everybody's getting in. I'm saying just give me a little more. I agree. Listen, or if you want, keep it the way it is, but make that division
the series bigger.
Yes, make them the wild card play-in is a 3-game series. Then you have a 7-7.
Yep.
Not the play-in, then a 3-game series. You know what I'm saying. If you want to keep things with, no, that was Chewbacca. That was an email.
Oh, all right.
Well, my boss does the same thing. He's like, "Why do you have like 18 different sounds?" But I know what it is. That was an email. A dot is Discord or whatever, or a sonar ping is a text message. Cash register is, we all know that one.
We all know that one.
So, but in the I gotta tell you, at the off-season acquisitions here, I have never seen such a large bunch of large numbers going like this. And
let's just real quick before we touch upon that, let me just get into a couple other things that these guys are fighting about. Obviously, the billions they're fighting about. The union wants advertising on jerseys. Russ, what are your thoughts on that?
Negative.
Not a fan of it?
Negative. You already make enough fucking money. Don't fucking dumb it down.
The owners want to raise the competitive balance tax, which is basically like that threshold where if you go over it, you're paying a tax on your salaries for the team. The owners want to go from the current level of 210 million to 214 million, which is nothing. It's pissing in the wind, basically. The union wants to raise that number to 245 million, which is significant.
Well, because they're fighting for their players to get more money, so.
Correct. The players are fighting for service time changes. Obviously, you see that the owners manipulate that when you send a guy down to the minors during spring training and you don't call him up until the service time window.
Are they watching in the living room or are they in the bedroom?
The service time window goes past that certain point where it doesn't count as a year of service for the rookies. So they manipulate that. They want to make changes to that. The players' union wants to start free agency earlier in a player's career. They want to implement a lottery draft like the NBA has. Also, the DH to be universal and a pitch clock to keep the games speeding along. I don't think it's a bad idea for some of these things. Some of them, obviously involve money. Some of them don't. Who cares about a universal DH? But they're arguing over it. Makes no sense to me.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens.
All right. Now, you were saying the money being thrown around with these contract signings. I mean, unbelievable.
All right, I'll throw in one thing. When you mentioned the pitch clock thing, half me was like, all right, sometimes I wish we could install like a pitch clock on how long we take on each topic here. I can only sit in this chair for so long, dude. Obviously, the crown jewel of my Mets, Max Scherzer, and all those people out there saying he's too old, you overpaid him. I don't give a fuck. This is the first time they're doing things that the Mets don't normally do. So I'm going to enjoy it. Now, he better fucking perform. Granted, he's over the hill and he's probably going to crash and do what the Mets do. But for once, we're finally spending fucking money on one of the top pitchers out there who's still yet to show the decline, which will come now. But I'm still happy with it. There's no salary cap. Let him freaking go.
Spoken like a true Mets fan.
Cohen's going to hey, listen, they're finally spending some money. So listen, I'm happy with it. Whether he actually performs is another story. But a really great pickup was Starling Marte for $78 million, 4 years. Yep. Really, really great. Maybe his last year might be a big decline, but great average hitter, great speed.
Play center field.
Very, very, very good pickup. I like it a lot. Eduardo Escobar, same thing. Very good little hitter. Was an all-star the other year. Really like it. And then the Canna pick, I'm iffy on just because his average is not really there. And I never been big on people the Mets that don't hit for average. Because if they say they have a 244 average, they're gonna hit 230. Tigers stealing away Javi Baez from the Mets. I'm seeing he went for 140 million, and I want to say I heard the Mets only offered 125.
Yep.
I wouldn't have mind seeing him stay and see what he could do with Lindor.
Yep.
Rangers throwing it all up there.
Spending like drunken sailors.
325 million for Corey Seager. $175 million for Marcus Simeon. Great pickups, and John
Gray
for $56 million. I know Gray did not perform well in New York with the Yankees, but everywhere else he's pitched very well. So really good improvement for the Rangers there. Mariners getting Rob Ray, $115 million. It's a big pickup for them.
Yep.
Gosman going to the Blue Jays, which half me was I know that they were all a lot of Mets fans that wanted him, but he really only had one good real season. So
with the Giants. I mean,
the Rays signing Kluber for an $8 million a year. I think he's over the hill and done, but you never know. Maybe down in Tampa, which they have a great team, he strikes gold for a year. Maybe he finally gets them over the hill there.
Hey, I got to ask you, as a Mets fan, obviously Scherzer gets $43 million a year for 3 years. Let me ask you now, obviously, if the players were coming to New York, that is a big factor in this before I even preface my question. Because who knows if they even wanted to come. But Noah Syndergaard left for $20 million or $21 million. And Stroman's going to the Cubs, like you just said before when the show was just starting.
Yeah.
You spent $43 million a year on Scherzer, who is the crown jewel of the free agency market. As a Met fan, would you have been happier for the Mets to go sign a Robbie Ray and a Gosman, or a Noah and a Robbie Ray, as opposed to bringing in Scherzer for $43 million?
I don't know. I really wanted to keep Noah, but in the end, he kept getting injured. What are you going to say? He kept getting hurt. I really loved Noah and the Thor moniker, and I would have liked to have kept him, but
I feel like the Mets' fifth starter is a joke right now, and you could have had two, not aces, but two better pitchers.
I'm trying to think now. We're looking at obviously DeGrom, Scherzer, which is, I mean, if Scherzer keeps on his thing, you're looking at what the best 1-2 punch in baseball, hands down.
You're right.
If Carrasco can rebound,
who was injured for a good part of last year.
Yes, if he can rebound, that would be good for us. And then Tawan Walker, who pitched, I thought he pitched very well.
Yeah.
Still, this is also why I still would have liked to have kept Stroman, who kept under a 3 RA. He was pitched excellent for us. Didn't go late in the games, but he pitched excellent. I think he would have been. I think he would have kept him. He'd be fine. But yeah, I don't even know who the hell there is our fifth starter. And then we lost Aaron Luke. We lost Aaron Luke, who was our best reliever.
The fifth starter is a guy named Peterson, Russ.
Oh, yes. Peterson last year was supposed to be, everybody was hyped about him, and I don't think he pitched that well at all.
Yeah. So when you look at that.
It's not over, But then again, you see like Ray signed a Kluber for $8 million. Shit, I would have taken a flyer.
I would have taken a Kluber.
Even Red Sox for James Paxton for 10. I would have taken a flyer on them.
Exactly. That's my point.
Well, listen, they're doing things that the Mets normally haven't done. Let's see how it works out. Because look at it, Scherzer's 3 years, Marte's 4 years. You got Lindor for a bunch of years. You're gonna have a core there for a couple of years now. Obviously with all this, you're not bringing back Conforto and
no, you're
whatnot.
not.
But I'm fine with it. It's a changing of the guard. We've done the same things year after year, and I think it's a good. It's a good change to get rid of some of these guys. You also got the kid Brett Batty down in the minors who's hitting really well.
Mm-hmm.
See what happens.
Yeah, you got Robinson Cano coming back too if he actually puts a good year together.
He's a big giant fucking cheating mystery.
But hey, if he puts a good year together, that's a heck of a bat to put in that lineup.
My thing with Cano is he's always been a good hitter. I don't need the home runs. I don't need this. Just get on base and knock people in. That's all I care about these days. Save the home runs for Pete. That's about all he does. He's still got Dot Davis, which I really love him too. So go with that. Oh, we have a Chris Kreider 3-0 goal.
Wow, Rangers are on fire.
They love playing the Flyers.
Okay, they just started like 2 seconds ago.
a
started like 45 minutes ago, and it's the second period. All right.
No. It just started the second period.
Yes, I'm well
It's
aware.
2 seconds and they just scored.
My daughter's trying to lecture me on hockey.
How is that possible?
that's interesting.
Yes.
Interesting facts.
My daughter wants to know how it's possible. The game just started and they just scored.
Correction.
No, it's in the second period.
Yeah, I know. I'm
And it was like, can you please stop hitting me?
arguing.
All right,
hockey.
moving on to college football quick, Russ. You got a big matchup this weekend between Georgia and Alabama.
A fucking Titanic matchup.
Alabama loses this game. They're not going to be in the playoff, right?
I so can't wait for them to lose. Georgia's obviously undefeated, number one coaches poll, everybody's poll, fucking any poll you got, they're there. Alabama, what do you call it? One loss, sitting at 11-1. But my big thing is I'm not huge into college football like I was, but it will be a travesty if something happens with Oklahoma State and they don't. Obviously, either Georgia or Alabama are going to lose. So whoever loses, if Alabama loses, they're done. They're not getting into the playoff.
Correct.
If Georgia loses,
They're still getting in.
they still may get in because they're right now. It's Georgia, Alabama, Cincinnati, and Michigan.
And Michigan.
It will be a travesty if Oklahoma State does not get into the fucking playoff because they have one of the hardest schedules of the top four, and they have played phenomenal. Now, they play Baylor, who's ranked number 18th as well, but Oklahoma State has been excellent this year. And I don't mean to knock Cincinnati because I'm always a fan of underdogs.
They're 12-0.
Cincinnati's 12-0. They beat Notre Dame, but other than that, their schedule is terrible. They have not faced top-notch talent the way that Oklahoma State has. And let me bring it up here.
So I'm looking at it right now, Russ. The college football rankings is Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Alabama 3, and Cincinnati 4.
Well,
Then on the outside,
the playoff rankings are different. So what do you call it? So let's take a. And I always love to see the big thought of the underdog, put them in a playoff. The little guy from the small, Cincinnati isn't from a small school, but they're not the big SECs and ACCs. But look at their schedule: Miami of Ohio, Murray State, Indiana. They beat Notre Dame, great win. Temple, University of Central Florida, Navy, Tulane, Tulsa, South Florida, SMU, Eastern Carolina. They play Houston this week. Houston is also 11-1, ranked 21. So they are a viable opponent. But I don't see a strong schedule there.
There isn't a strong schedule.
Okay.
The hardest one was Notre Dame, and they won. Okay, great. But other than that,
Oklahoma State, their schedule. All right, they played Missouri State, Tulsa, Boise, but then Kansas State. They beat Baylor. Then they beat Texas. They lost to Ohio State. Then they blew the doors off Kansas. They beat West Virginia. They beat TCU, blew the doors off them. They beat Texas Tech 23-0. They beat Oklahoma, and now they play Baylor again. That is that's not an easy schedule. And they're sitting at 5th with Notre Dame, and I think it would be a shame if Oklahoma State doesn't at least get a shot. And to me, like I said, is if Alabama beats Georgia, Georgia still stays in the top 4 and gets in.
So looking at this
point in stage, I feel Alabama is just like the Patriots. And so are the Cowboys.
Everybody hates them.
If you're not an Alabama fan, when Alabama loses, America wins.
Yes, everybody hates them.
That's my only take on it. And I always been the ones like when Boise State was big back in the day and was the underdog and had these great seasons, but they didn't get that big bowl. I'm always a fan of giving the little guys a shot. This is one instance where Oklahoma State deserves to be up there, I think.
Well, if Georgia beats Alabama,
Alabama's
out.
Alabama's out. And there's no question, as long as everything stays status quo, that's what it's going to be. It'll be Georgia, Michigan, Cincinnati, Oklahoma State. That'll be
Correct.
your top 4.
Yep.
If Alabama beats Georgia, it's going to be Alabama 1 again, Michigan 2, probably Cincy 3, and then Georgia will fall right to 4. And listen, you shouldn't fault them for getting the one loss and losing to an Alabama, but I felt bad for Oklahoma State. So,
And then you're going to have that Alabama. You're going to have the Alabama Georgia matchup again in the playoff with a 1 versus 4. That's what's going to happen. You're going to have them play again if based on the scenario you just gave.
which I'm fine with. Listen, don't get me wrong; those are going to be great matchups.
Oh
It's just a matter of, all right. Oh, no. So Kreider goal was assisted by Mika, and another assist by Capo Caco.
Guys putting some points together lately.
Now watch. Now let me go. We're gonna get Hughes got this deal. Now we're gonna get. I hope they don't. I love Caco, but I hope it's just. I hope it's not something stupid. They're gonna follow the Devils on that one.
So keeping with the college football theme, real quick, it'll be an interesting weekend. But it's been an interesting past couple of 24 to 48 hours, I would say, with Lincoln Riley leaving Oklahoma for USC. And
screw both of them. Screw Riley.
And Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame for LSU.
Yeah, and like we were talking, that 7 recruits decommitted.
Yeah, immediately
from Oklahoma. You just screwed Oklahoma for a couple. Yep. That could take a year or two, or possibly more, to recover from that. And where already players have committed to other schools, you basically just screwed what they're going to get. Have coming in the recruiting. Players.
There was a top quarterback recruit that was going to Oklahoma. And the minute Lincoln Riley says he's leaving and going to USC, the QB decommits. And then what do you think he did? Obviously, he committed to USC.
Yeah, because Lincoln Riley sold him. But I don't like that. And the Brian Kelly thing makes it even worse, because I thought I remember him saying that he loves Notre Dame, never going to he immediately jumped for the money, and $95 million. 9.5 a year to coach college football. And I read the whole thing this morning that he spoke for whatever it was, 3-4 minutes after
4 minutes
after texting everybody saying, "Hey, I didn't want you." Everybody found out social media, and then 4 minutes, and they basically just bounced. Fuck Brian Kelly. I hope LSU loses every goddamn game. That to me, that would piss me off so much. You talk about especially if Brian Kelly brought you in, you came there, you big Notre Dame. Brian Kelly's been a staple there for 10 years, whatever it is.
Yep.
That would really, if it was me, I probably wouldn't even go into that meeting. So screw you.
Hey, did you see the rumored contract that Lincoln Riley's getting from USC?
Yes, they're going to buy his 2 houses in Oklahoma. And sell them separately. They're going to move him. He gets used to the private. I mean, this is one thing that I never agreed with paying players, but goddamn, you're talking about all this money going to coaches, like out of control money. That shit, I can't blame the players for wanting a piece.
Lincoln Riley's contract is rumored to be worth $110 million. Like you just said, USC is buying both of his homes and then selling them.
Your screen is frozen, and you look like a chipmunk with glasses.
Oh, great.
He did.
I hear your voice. You're talking, but your screen is frozen.
They are buying a $6 million home for him in L.A., and they're giving him 24/7 use of a private jet for him and his family.
Yeah, honestly, how can you not blame these players for wanting a piece of money?
Sure, why not?
I still don't like the deal things. Me personally, I think it should be like, if you're on a team, obviously you're not working. There should be funds deviated so that they could have, basically an allowance every week.
Yep.
So that they can at least do something and have a little bit of money.
I think that another big thing on this whole way things played out with Kelly and Riley leaving their colleges. Why do college football coaches have their contracts written the way they're written? That they can just up and leave
Yeah, I don't.
You know, the way look at this. Notre Dame is 5th or 6th in the rankings right now before the final week of college football season, before the playoffs start. And he just up and left them.
Yeah, I don't get that. He's built a Notre Dame team that's limited by the fact that it's such a religious school that not everybody wants to go there.
And it's hard to get into.
Yes, and it's hard to get into. And you built, a culture that you've been to the championship game a couple times. You just haven't gotten over the hump.
Yep.
Why would you want to just up and leave now? So that you can possibly win one with,
I mean, Russ, wouldn't it be funny if Michigan loses to Iowa this weekend?
What's that?
Wouldn't it be funny if Michigan loses this weekend in the Big Ten championship game? Wouldn't it be funny if Cincinnati somehow slips out? Wouldn't it be funny if somehow Alabama loses to Georgia and slips out?
It would.
And Notre Dame sneaks in. Now, who coaches their game?
If Cincinnati loses, they're definitely out. Yes. You're right. How does that work? How do you
think about this? Think about if Notre Dame sneaks in to the playoff and somehow runs the table and beats Georgia. Wouldn't it be something like the biggest FU to Brian Kelly on the way out that this team put together a run in the playoff and won a national championship?
Me personally, if I was the quarterback, which is it Jeff? It's Jack Cohen.
It's a local guy from Long Island.
Boy from East Islip, I think, wasn't he? Or West Islip?
Sayville or Islip, local guy from Long Island.
Me personally, I'd be like, yo, if we were playing the championship game, you just I don't want you coaching my ass. You committed somewhere else. Get the hell out of here.
No, he's not coaching. He's gone. He's at LSU. He's gone. He's not coaching.
I thought he was finishing up the season.
No. There's rumors of the offensive or defensive coordinator coaching them.
Yes, that would be something then if they won.
Oh, it'd be a big FU. It'd be unbelievable if that actually would have happened.
And if Brian Kelly called me to congratulate me, I would just hang up the phone. Let's think. Let's say Georgia beats Alabama. Alabama's out. Let's say Michigan loses to Iowa. They're out.
And Houston beats Cincinnati.
You would probably see Oklahoma State, Notre Dame, possibly Ohio State jump up.
Right? Like you would see chaos if this actually comes to fruition.
The other thing too is if let's say Baylor sits at 9th at 10-2. Well, that happens and they beat Oklahoma State. With that strength of schedule, would that bump them up if all that happened?
Puts them right into the conversation, at least in the 5-6 matchup, if not
and again, too,
4.
If Iowa to beat Michigan, Iowa sits technically Iowa's 13th, but they're 10-2 as well. There's about 8 fucking teams or 10 teams here tied at 10-2. So that would be interesting. Ole Miss 10-2, Ohio State 10-2, Baylor 10-2, Oregon, Michigan State, Brigham Young, Iowa, Oklahoma, Pittsburgh, Wake Forest. Jesus Christ, like Oprah, you're 10-2, you're 10-2, you're 10-2. It'd be interesting to see.
It would be. And I'm always a fan of the chaos and the underdog coming through and all that fun stuff. I want a 4-team, MLB playoff tiebreaker for the wild card on the last day of the season. That's what I want to see. But yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. Definitely a great sports weekend coming up with all those matchups, and obviously F Alabama because I'm not a fan of them either.
All right.
Russ, that's going to put a bow on episode number 28.
I'm going to go plant my ass on the couch and watch the rest of this game.
Yeah, I am too. Rangers up 3-0 halfway through the second. We'll be back next week with episode 29. I'm working on a guest for one of these next upcoming shows, discussing Jeff Platt coming back on the show. He was our guest for our very first show that we did about 7 months ago.
Very first.
I'm a big fanboy of Jeff, but reached out to Jeff last week and said, hey, there was a great World Series of Poker. Jeff had a good run himself with a couple of cashes and a final table. Phil Hellmuth had a great run with his 16th bracelet, going for his 17th. So I asked Jeff to come back on, and Jeff and I are in discussions to have him come back on the show and discuss a bunch of stuff. And Jeff is a USC guy, so I'd love to get his opinion on the Lincoln Riley thing and see, as a USC alum, what his thoughts are on this whole thing.
All right.
But like I said, it's going to put a bow on episode 28. We'll be back next week. Obviously, Sunday, we will put out on Twitter our football picks. Hopefully, we get back on track because I've hit a couple of speed bumps along the way here, and you're just chugging along.
A pleasure.
But
give me a couple bucks, and I'll give you a couple hints. Picks.
I'm okay. All right, but we'll see you next week, everybody from New York. Have a good night and a good rest of